she wins an award for a performance that is good. She brought depth to a character that I think without that depth would have been it would have been an ick. It would have been derogatory and an ick. She got more attention for that in a role where she ate Sean Penn's ass. Have used that scene as a way to discuss black fatherhood and say that's what real fathers are like. That's a real father's love. When the film itself was critiquing that, critiquing the aggressive father, the tough love father.
Now I don't give you everything I got to give you. I give you your life.
And that's why framing is so important. That is why the discussion about breaking these stereotypes, breaking these norms are so important. Do you remember the time of the Oscar campaign, or the campaign around the Oscars and the award seasons in general, where we discussed Oscars so white?
Because of the Academy and the nominations and having a second year where all the actor nominees are white and all the best pictures are white. And now I'm actually kind of stunned how fast the Academy responded with some changes that could actually make a difference.
Well, we've been talking about these things for years and nothing's changed. I think
many of you would remember that campaign essentially where we were calling out the Oscars for being so white, having a white skewed narrative, even when they were talking about black stories, depicting black stories. It was always in this white savior complex, this lens in which white people could either feel comfortable or not challenged. Hey, that might be a better way of wording it. But yes, essentially we were challenging that narrative. What's changed? What's changed?
Not a damn thing.
Let's ask ourselves that. As you can see, Teyana Taylor has won a Golden Globe for her performance in one battle after another. Am I hating on the performance? No. Do I think the performance is bad? No. Do I think any of the performances that I'm going to speak about are bad? No, I actually think some of them are incredible. The argument is, and what you'll see that is a prevailing narrative, is that it's not the performance that is bad, it's the fact that these are the only type of performances that get recognition. What does that mean? What does that say? What does that do to the wider public's understanding and framing about our narrative and black consciousness, black self-esteem as a whole? What are the effects of that? We will be exploring all of that and more. So let's get into it. Guys, before we get into the episode, please do me one massive favor. Please like, comment, share, and subscribe in order for the channel to grow. It needs your support. So please support the channel, subscribe, like it, put into the comments what you like, put into the comments what you dislike, hit the notification bell so you don't miss out on an episode. But without further ado, let's get into it. First and foremost, it's important to say this episode was inspired by this tweet right here. This tweet inspired me. It sent me down a rabbit hole, and I thought, why not make an episode? So a lot of credit goes to the tweeter of this. She also wrote an essay about it, and she pointed people who saw the tweet to the article called The Jezebel, and it really explores how the Jezebel trope has been explored not just throughout film, but music, entertainment, art, the rest, especially when it comes to black bodies, that being women, and in the sense of black men, it's the mandingo fetish that has really been explored, hypersexualized our bodies. So when you put that and combine that with Teyana Taylor's performance, you do have to now raise an eyebrow that her performance in 1001, where I think she played a far more complex and gripping a more gripping performance.
And I'll argue with you.
That's real easy for you to say because you get to be the saint, right? You get to be the saint while I'm stuck here fighting these wars all by myself. What? Well, then show up for me, like. Show up for me.
Got very little recognition, especially from established and old heritage award systems. Not many people spoke about it, and I think that performance is far, far greater. Where she played a single mother who adopted a child and took on the burden, and there was so much complexity. It still has the stereotypes in it, but there was more complexity. I find it challenging that in one battle after another, she wins an award for a performance that is good. She brought depth to a character that I think without that depth would have been it would have been an ick. would have been derogatory and an ick. She got more attention for that in a role where she ate Sean Penn's ass. I don't know what else to say. That's what happened. She was, in my opinion, if any of you have watched this, she was nothing short of the eye of the white race play fantasy. That film is at the start a massive white race fantasy. Sean Penn's character is almost defined by that. And the funny thing is, I think Sean Penn, Leonardo DiCaprio actually has better performances, if you ask me. But the Jezebel stereotype, the Jezebel role, is nothing new. When you look into it and you analyze this article where it's discussed what's been said, some of the quotes there really do depict something quite gruesome. Black bodies have often been hypersexualized due to the culture. White settlers, or white Europeans I should say, when they would come in to colonize Africa, would see how black African bodies were wearing limited clothing, they're dancing, and the polygamy, polyamorous relationships, and just use that as confirmation of them being hypersexualized. This was something during slavery that was used to justify the abuse of the bodies as well, where slave masters would, and just white people in general, would dehumanize our bodies, make us appear and create narratives that we are animalistic in our sexuality. That also led to many people being not just sexualized, but in feeling that in order to get status, value in this world, that they would have to sell their bodies to be concubines for white European or white establishments or white institutions. So when people have a very harsh critique of the Cardi B's, Young Miami JT's, just the tricking and hoeing culture in general, sometimes it does play into a very masculine, patriarchal trope of women. Sometimes when it's black bodies, it's deeper. When it's African bodies, it's even more deeper than what is on the surface of keeping the masculine patriarchy safe and intact. It's deeper than that. It runs much deeper than that. It's talking about the history, the lineage of how black bodies are viewed and hypersexualized, and how some of these music videos, some of these discussions.
To have a really pretty faced girl that I really like, and we both sucking dick together, but like not just like my turn, your turn, my turn, your turn, like making out, clashing on it. Really
are just maintaining that stereotype and doing nothing but dehumanizing us further. Funny enough, so much has changed, but sometimes when you look beneath the surface, it feels that nothing has changed. So that brings me to Teyana Taylor's win. Even her speech to me was hypersexualized. Some people may think I'm overanalyzing, and that's fair. That's your opinion. Put it into the comments. Make sure you subscribe too to disagree with me more. Teyana Taylor is someone who's to me very hypersexualized, and that in some ways is empowering, in some ways it's not. Also, let's look at the history of this. Remember Halle Berry's victory for Monster Ball?
I was trying to tell him you can't be like that. You can't be like that in America, and a black man. I was just.
I'm not sure what you want me to do.
You know what I want you to do? I want you to make me feel better. I want you to make me feel better.
The most memorable thing about that film is the sex scene. Let's just have it right. I can't use the sex scene imagery here in this video because it just won't go on YouTube. But go watch Monster Ball. The thing you remember is the sex scene. That is it. She plays a downtrodden, almost abused, but very complex black woman. Clearly, she's a bit slower than the average from the way she speaks. Yes, the performance was eye-catching, but the fact that Halle Berry only got recognition for that performance, she was the first black woman to win a leading actress role. That's the performance, Monster Ball, for that sex scene. It tells you and illustrates a narrative. You may bring up other performances and say, hey, it's not just when we're hypersexualized. Look at Monique. Look at Octavia Spencer in The Help. Viola Davis in Fences. You've got a great point. It's not just that stereotype of the Jezebel that fits that narrative, is it?
Meanwhile, these movies can frequently lack three-dimensionality in their portraits of Black and POC characters.
I love me some fried chicken.
While the white protagonists often get love stories and complex character development, the non-white characters tend to be reduced to their negative experiences.
Never had one before.
What, a room to yourself?
A bed.
The battered Black woman syndrome. Monique's is a bit more morally complex. She's far more morally obtuse, in my opinion. They bring some depth to her performance at the end, and Monique was outstanding. She deserved her performance. She deserved the Oscar for that. She deserved it. I'm not saying she didn't, but it's funny, again, like I keep saying, that's what she won her Oscar for. Precious got all that attention, and essentially you're watching a character go through so much trauma. Films that maybe depict it differently or show blackness in a different light, they don't often get that level of recognition. We are often recognized when we display either hypersexuality, emotional endurance, suffering that makes white people feel comfortable, servitude, submissiveness. Teyana Taylor's performance is that, but let's have it right. That Octavia Spencer's performance in The Help that I mentioned earlier is exactly that, emotional endurance. The Help is very comfortable for white people.
Did you fire her?
In The Help, it is Skeeter's revelation that her childhood maid has been fired that leads her to want to expose racism on behalf of the other Black maids in her community, while in reality, Black people were eager to tell their own stories and had been doing so since before the abolition of slavery. So this simplified narrative centered on a white woman suggests that without Skeeter's bravery, these women would never have encountered the ongoing Black struggle for equality.
My boy Treelaw always said we're gonna have a writer in the family one day. I guess it's gonna be me.
Focusing primarily on the experiences of white characters also elevates their brushes with racism almost to the point where they're equated with actually being victimized.
That's another film that got a lot of attention by the Oscars. Films that challenge that system, that challenge that archetype of how Black people are viewed, rarely get that recognition. Do I have examples of that? I do.
This was a movie that reflects real fears of mine and real issues that, you know, I've dealt with before.
Controversially, I will speak on this one. Sorry for any crackling here. Controversially, I'll speak on this one. Denzel's performance in Training Day. Do I think he deserved it? Listen, I don't love Denzel's performance in Training Day.
Apologize for that. Apologize for that. Apologize for that. Hold on, right here. Hold on, Jay. Say what we did. Apologize for that on national television right now.
I kind of messed that up. I meant to say I didn't like it. I love it. Messed it up. I love that performance. I think it's one of the greatest performances I've ever seen from an actor. Denzel's performance in Training Day, and he deserved his Oscar for that. He also deserved his Oscar for Malcolm X. Malcolm X may be his most complex performance he's ever put forward. It might have been, to me, well, I liked his performance in Flight 2. That was very complex. But anyway, his performance in Malcolm X is phenomenal. It takes things to me to another level. It depicts Malcolm X as not just a morally complex but revolutionary person. It depicts the Nation of Islam at a time in its most accurate light, in my opinion, and still leaves a layer of ambiguity. But he didn't win for Malcolm X. He won for Training Day. And you may think, well, he deserved it for Training Day. Again, there's no argument there. My argument is, it's funny that the only thing he won, his leading man performance and even his best supporting actor performance were all for roles that played into Black suffering or Black people, in the case of Training Day, being the villain. He is the villain, he's a corrupt cop, he is bombastic. I always say this, it's niggatry on 10, and I mean that in the most complimentary way possible. That speech, we all know the speech.
All right, I'm putting cases on all you bitches. Huh? You think you can do this shit? Jay! You think you can do this to me? You motherfuckers will be playing basketball in Pelican Bay when I get finished with you. Shoe program, nigga. 23-hour lockdown. I'm the man up in this piece. You'll never see the light of day. Who the fuck you think you fucking with? I'm the police. I run shit here. You just live here. Yeah, that's right. You better walk away. Go and walk away, because I'm going to burn this motherfucker down. King Kong ain't got shit on me.
Come on, it's amazing. But the fact that Malcolm X never got its recognition, but this one got the recognition, says a lot. Now, some people may say, if you know a lot about films, you know a lot about the Oscars, you know a lot about award systems, that this has got more to do with the kind of IOU system that is around the Oscars. And that's fair. But I would say this extends greater than just Denzel Washington. Let's look at films, for example.
You broke my streak.
Do you know the film that won the Oscars the year that Get Out was nominated?
I don't know.
You don't. I'll put it there. I forgot. Not gonna lie. Because rarely at the Oscars does the best film win. The Oscars is far more about career narrative, politics, optics, making people feel comfortable. Get Out, which, let's all have it right, we still talk about Get Out. We still talk about the sunken place. We still talk about the look. That rewrote and changed culture. But when these films don't get the attention that they deserve, what you will find is that the framing can often get lost. Get Out never won that year. It won for writing, a mild nod. But anytime the Oscars is challenged, institutionally, systematically, the system itself is challenged.
I'm representing Marlon Brando this evening, and he has asked me to tell you in a very long speech, which I cannot share with you presently because of time, but I will be glad to share with the press afterwards, that he very regretfully cannot accept this very generous award. And the reasons for this being are the treatment of American Indians today by the film industry.
It rarely gets its recognition. Again, I will bring this up. Halle Berry has only won for Monsters Ball, where the most memorable thing is a sex scene. 1001 for Teyana Taylor never won. Not even a nomination. It's madness. Again, people will hear this and think there's exceptions. There must be exceptions, because I said almost exclusively in my title. So, all thumbnail. You'll probably know by the end of this. But what are those exceptions? There are exceptions. Moonlight is an exception to the rule. Depicts blackness in a way that, well, black masculinity in a way that I don't think has ever quite been depicted on TV or film.
You're the only man that's ever touched me.
You could say Marlo from The Wire is something similar to it, but the layers, the depth of how masculinity was portrayed, softness in aggression, it's got an LGBTQ lens. It rarely happens, rarely happens that masculinity is portrayed in that way. If you haven't watched Moonlight, I beg of you, go watch that. It is one of the greatest films to ever come out. The fact that you may not have says a lot anyway, and it did win an Oscar, so it's the exception. Do you remember how it won its Oscar though?
We lost, by the way, but
what?
You know.
Guys, I'm sorry. No, there's a mistake. Moonlight, you guys won Best Picture.
Moonlight won. Come on, this is not a joke.
This is not a joke. I'm afraid they read the wrong thing.
This is not a joke. Moonlight has won Best Picture. Moonlight, Best Picture.
Isn't it funny that in the exceptions to the rule, in moments which actually, or films that actually challenge the system, challenge the archetype that we're used to, that we're comfortable for, something more, there was a spectacle around it. People thought it was La La Land. La La Land to me is not on the level of Moonlight. La La Land's fun, it's very Oscar baity, but it's not on the level of Moonlight. Moonlight wasn't even trying to be Oscar bait. La La Land was. But the fact that it was written out, called out that it was Moonlight that won, says so much. That moment for Moonlight is far more memorable for one of the greatest errors ever made. Well, there was one error bigger, actually, that's happened at the Oscars.
That was a nice one. Okay. I'm out here. Richard. Oh, wow. Wow.
Yeah, Yeah, the slap heard around the world. Funny enough, Will Smith's performance in King Richard is an exception to the rule. It's a performance about discipline, emotional endurance, similar to the archetype, but dignity, fatherhood. Rarely do we see fathers depicted in that way in such a mainstream stage to get such awards contendership. How did the exception to the rule in a weird moment of self-sabotage? Reality is often more amazing and grandiose than art itself. That in the moment where a performance defined by discipline, fatherhood is lost by a rare moment of loss of composure. The irony of that. Now that's not a systematic thing, more symbolic, but it's funny. The exceptions to the rule always have something else over it. Always something else over it. And Will Smith, the grandest shame of it all is that he was the exception to the rule. So he got an Oscar that I didn't think he'd actually ever win, and it's lost. It's lost to that moment. And I don't know. We've all analysed it to death, but boy, the irony in it when you look big picture as well. And you know, big up Chris Rock for taking the slap and not collapsing the show, because that wouldn't have been me. The show would not have gone on. I would not have been mature about that.
I'd have whipped Will Smith's ass.
I know you.
I would have whipped, he'd have had to whip me, or I'd have had to whip him. And every time I see him, it's on sight.
There's a loop around the Oscars and awards season. The old Oscar loop, the IOU that I mentioned with Denzel Washington. He was a victim of that, actually, through his Malcolm X performance. That year, the year that he was up for Best Actor in a motion picture, the person that won is Al Pacino for Scent of a Woman. Do you know Scent of a Woman? Did any of you watch it? Do any of you remember it?
No.
If you're a film buff, you don't count. You do not count. You probably don't. Does that mean Al Pacino doesn't deserve an Oscar? No, Al Pacino deserves probably 2. But Al Pacino did not win for many of his greatest performances. The performances that you actually remember. Dog Day Afternoon, Godfather, Scarface. Hey, even Dick Tracy was better than that. Scent of a Woman was I actually think probably, it wasn't a bad performance, but it had Al Pacino's worst tropes in it, where he can overact a little bit, be over the top. Funny enough, The Godfather as Michael Corleone, probably his most iconic performance, was where he showed a different side of his acting, understated, more cerebral than normal. He never won for that. He was up twice for that role and he never won. And there's just a loop around the Oscars when it comes to IOUs. And just generally, inherently, Oscars loop, the Oscar owed loop is so impactful. I've said it before, that it's about career narrative, it's about politics, it's about optics. Do you know how many films should have won, should have even been up for a nomination and didn't win? Performances as well. I mentioned Teyana Taylor's one, but let's talk about some of the films that were there. 2008, Dark Knight came out. Some of you may say Dark Knight is about Batman. That film changed how we viewed the genre. It redefined cinema in some ways. Didn't win, didn't even get nominated, but it changed the voting system because since then there is a larger pool for voters. That's another Christopher Nolan film. The year after, 2009, Avatar came out. Do you know what beat Avatar?
The winner is The Hurt Locker. Catherine Bigelow.
The Hurt Locker. Has Jeremy Renner in it. The performance wasn't too bad. It does say a lot about PTSD. It was a film about the war in Iraq. Look, it's a good film. But Avatar, again, cinematic marvel. But there's a bias against the genre. There's a bias against sci-fi in the Oscars. It's not seen as prestige, and it didn't win. Something that actually changed cinema again didn't win. And the film that won is not memorable. It is closer to a trivia question. And ironically, James Cameron was up for the Oscar for Avatar, obviously, and he lost to his ex-wife. Just a bit of trivia for you to know. 2010, another Christopher Nolan film. Inception, lost to what? You don't remember, neither do I. I'll put it here because, again, it's not about the best film. I'll give you another one. 2014, well 2013 really, but 2013, who won the Oscar for that year? 12 Years a Slave. You're probably thinking, man, That's a black film.
Who's in the nails you gave me? This ain't just by half. I will have flesh. And I will have all of it.
The film's called 12 Years a Slave. How many of you have watched it twice? There's a film that was called Gravity that I actually think redefined the genre, redefined sci-fi, did not win. It is a marvel of, I keep saying redefine the genre. How many films redefine the genres? But it's an amazing film. It's a technical masterpiece. It is better than 12 Years a Slave. 12 Years a Slave won because of politics, because of career narratives. The Oscars wanted to be viewed in a certain way. And I repeat, how many of you have watched that film twice? You probably liked it the first time. So do I. Lupita Nyong'o won the Oscar for that. For again playing what?
You miserable wench, where you been?
I've been nowhere.
Last year, Miss Deeds.
The Sabbath day, Master. I took me a walk to commune with the Lord.
Bring the Lord into your deceptions. You're coming from Sean's plantation next year.
No.
Now you speak.
Exactly. So yes, there is a larger point about the Oscars, the old loop, the problem they have with just recognizing films that are disruptive, that actually make change, that are statement pieces, that are real pictures of art, not just love letters to the Academy. That's why the term Oscar bait exists. It is just exacerbated in black spaces. It is further enhanced in black spaces, and it does something to framing. It does something to the depiction of our own voices, our own stories, our real archetypes, the complexities in black spaces, black masculinity, black femininity, and anything in between. I want to leave you with one of these examples, and that is Fences. Fences is a great film, and this scene, I hope I won't get copyright, sorry if I do.
Can I ask you a question? What the hell you got to ask me? Mr. Stewicki, the one you got the questions for.
How come you ain't never liked me?
Like you? Who the hell said I got to like you? What law is there say I got to like you? Want to stand up in front of my face and ask a damn fool-ass question like that? Talking about liking somebody. Come here, boy, when I talk to you. Question. What law is there say I got to like you?
None.
All right, then. Don't you eat every day? Answer me when I talk to you. Don't you eat every day?
Yeah.
Nigga, as long as you in my house, you put a sir on the end of it when you talk to me.
Yes, sir.
You eat every day.
Yes, sir.
Got a roof over your head.
Yes, sir.
Got clothes on your back.
Yes, sir.
Why you think that is?
Because of you.
Hell, I know it's because of me. But why do you think that is?
Because you like me?
Like you. I go out of here every morning. I bust my butt putting up with them crackers every day because I like you. You're about the biggest fool I ever saw. It's my job. It's my responsibility. A man is supposed to take care of his family. You live in my house, fill your belly with my food, put your behind on my bed because you're my son. Because I like you, because it's my duty to take care of you. I owe a responsibility to you. Now, let's get this straight right here and now before I go along any further. I ain't got to like you. Mr. Rand don't give me my money come payday because he like me. He give it to me because he owe me. Now, I don't give you everything I got to give you. I give you your life.
To me, says so much about the power of cinema. And many people have used that scene as a way to discuss black fatherhood and say that's what real fathers are like, that's a real father's love, when the film itself was critiquing that, critiquing the aggressive father, the tough love father. It was looking at fathers and a lot of how black men father their children and essentially become their first bullies and call it tough love, passing down inherited trauma through the form of tough love. It was a critique, yet it's used as motivation, as a sign of tough love or real love. And that's why framing is so important. That is why the discussion about breaking these stereotypes, breaking these norms are so important. This was never about critiquing the winners. This was never about critiquing people who want to display their femininity in a sexual way. It was really putting it and framing how and why these are the only performances that get recognition. You could extend this to rap, you can extend this to music, you can extend this to the corporate world. That is a video in it itself. But it's important to call this out because as we celebrate Teyana Taylor winning an Oscar, maybe they feel that she's owed one, or a Golden Globe I should say. Well, and again, like I said, maybe they feel that she's owed one for her work in 1001. Put this out here again. We should frame it sometimes correctly and ask the question, why are these the only type of performances that win? Why is it that Octavia Spencer has had many great performances, but the Oscar she won for was where it's in a film called The Help. Need I say more? Need I say more? It had some important scenes. I'm not criticizing the films, I'm criticizing the system that only rewards films that placate to a certain white narrative which depicts us in servitude, submission, hypersexualized, hyper-aggressive, and rarely when those archetypes are broken or more complex in the sense of Get Out or Sinners. Let's see what happens with Sinners. Rarely does it get its recognition, and when it does, it's often hijacked by something else. Hey, I hope you enjoyed this. Put into the comments what you think. Please like, comment, share, and subscribe. And if there's anything you want to see me, what is underneath my nose? I'm out.
It's the first annual Montgomery Burns Award for Outstanding Achievement in